And we are live. Welcome back to the Content Swap Podcast. You are joined by Parker and
Aaliyah.
And if you are new to the Content Swap Podcast, this is a podcast in which we assign each other a piece of content at the end of every episode, engage with it for the week, and then we reconvene right here on the podcast, right where you're at right now at this very moment, and we talk about it. But before we do, wait, we like to give a little...
You have so much energy.
I am trying to give myself a lot of energy right now because it is 8:45 p.m. and this is the last thing we were doing before bed. So
at least you had the day off, so you
I did have the
build
day
up
off.
the energy.
I did have the day off. Today was MLK Day.
I did not have the day off, unfortunately.
Yes. Well, before we dive into the content, we like to provide a little life news update of things that have been going on with us for the past week. So so let's just dive right into that. You want to take it away?
Sure. Things going on with me. So I have recently started taking pole dancing classes, which has been a lot of fun. But at the moment, the right side of my body feels like it's been hit by a truck. I had a class yesterday, and typically, like in the first class that I took, I tried to learn all the moves using both sides of my body. So going in both directions and things like that. So I think it was more evened out. But I am now learning choreography because it is a 10-week choreography class. I'm learning the choreography that we will be doing. And I kind of stuck to basically it's like I used my left side, but that means that I use my right arm, if that makes sense. So I do all the moves going to the left, but my right arm is at the top of the pole holding most of my weight.
Okay.
And so, at first, after class, I was fine. I was dandy, whatever. But it is such a delayed soreness that comes to you. And just now I move my arm and it's my tricep hurts, my bicep hurts, my rib cage hurts. Everything hurts.
Getting back into exercise kind of soreness that you just...
Yeah, but it's
it's perpetual.
It's so... I never have been... I hated doing... even when I was a frequent weightlifter, at the gym in my undergrad days, I hated doing upper body. I only really like to do legs because I don't know, I just love doing legs. And I feel like I'm way stronger in my legs. And naturally, my arms look muscular, even though they're super weak. But doing pole now, I'm like, dang, I really should have been doing my arms at the gym because none of these muscles have been worked out and I'm so weak.
And you're probably using muscles that
no one ever
don't regularly get used for any exercises.
Yeah. And so it's things that I didn't know could hurt.
Yeah. Oh, that's always a good feeling though.
Yeah. I mean, I'm having a great time, so I can't complain that much.
Nice.
Other than that, I really haven't been... The only content I've been engaging with since we last spoke is the Kardashians.
Nice. Very nice.
I've been working on these crochet projects, which means that, if I'm going to watch content, it has to be something I don't fully pay attention to because I am looking at the project that I'm making. And so the other day I was just you know what? When's the last time I have seen anything about the Kardashians? Because I do not keep up with them. And I was like, I'm just going to throw it on. It's, some reality TV in the background. And it has sucked me in. I'm not going to lie. They know what they're doing. It has some sort of drug in it because now I'm invested in their lives, which I don't want to be.
There's not a literal drug. It's just
no.
The show itself is a drug.
Yes.
Got it.
I'm like, what is going on? Why am I addicted to this TV show? But yeah, so I am currently keeping up with Kardashians and it's a fun time. And that's really all that.
Well, you gotta, with what you've seen, what is new with the Kardashians? As far as, just give the people a little tidbit of something of what's going on with the Kardashians.
I mean, it's weird because, like, we all know, like, you can't not keep up with the Kardashians. It's impossible in this day and age to not, because they're everywhere. They're on your social media, even if you don't look at anything really relevant to them. Like, they're just popping up everywhere. And so it's like, I knew of these things when they were happening. So now, but like, now I'm watching it play out, I guess, from their perspective.
All right, so
like, for example, Kim is dating Pete Davidson in the season that I'm watching.
Right.
Tristan cheated on Khloe for the millionth time.
So what's something new that you learned about the Kardashians watching it in the past week?
That Chris had hip replacement.
All right, okay. See, that's the kind of good content you're getting from watching the Kardashians.
Hip replacement.
Go check it out. Yeah, Kris Jenner's getting a hip replacement. You're not going to see that on the news.
That's so freaking funny. Yeah, that's what I've learned. And stuff with Kendall, but no offense, I find Kendall very boring. So, I could go without.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about her. I learned that Kendall is flipping houses with her friend. So
yes, that's a new thing I learned. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, what's up with you?
Yeah. I had the day off today, so I got to do a lot of just whatever I wanted, which was kind of a weird feeling. I woke up this morning feeling like I feel like there's something I'm supposed to be doing, and it took me a second. I mean, it took me until, like, I don't know, 10 o'clock to kind of get into the groove of, like, I can do whatever I want. And it snowed today, so it was like,
yeah,
there's no good reason to be out of the house. It is all in the house stuff. Like, that's perfect. Yeah. So I spent my day today playing Super Mario RPG on my Nintendo Switch and watching One Piece, the anime. So I actually ended up finishing Super Mario RPG and then immediately started cooking dinner, and then now we're recording this podcast. So I literally just finished it, and it was great. I really enjoyed it. And if anybody watches One Piece, I am on the Dressrosa arc with Don Quixote do Flamingo.
Did you get past that guy that's like, whatever he does? Yeah,
that guy. That is a Caesar Clown from the Punk Hazard arc. Yeah, we got past. I'm finally past the Punk Hazard arc, and I'm finally on the Dressrosa arc. But that guy is still around.
Oh my god!
But he's not laughing so much. He's like he's a captive now, and I do actually like how I didn't like that arc that we were stuck on for so long, but I do like how it's paying off in this arc of like, oh yeah, that character's still around, this other character, Trafalgar Law, is still around, and it's all very involved into, like, everything from that arc is very involved in, like, transitioning into this story, but now there's like a lot more going on, so it's like there's like, we're finishing up that thread, then we're starting new threads, and the new threads are like cropping up like old but like really, really interesting threads. So it's just, I'm having a good time with One Piece right now. Let's put it that way. Yeah. So that's pretty much how I spent my day today, but I promised that I would give a little Baldur's Gate 3 update if I continued to play it. Last week I had said, oh yeah, I just started it, and I don't know what I think of it yet. It's not quite clicking yet, and I think I played it 2 more times since then. I've picked it up for a total of like 3 different play sessions, and at the end of this 3rd play session, I was like, okay, you know what? This is pretty good. I've got, at this point, I think I've got all the main characters in my party. I've got characters in my party that I like, and some that I am like, they're okay. And I'm using all of the ones that I think are like cool characters, but also really useful in combat. I've got a vampire named Astarion. He's a really cool guy. And then I got Shadowheart, and I just got this. I don't remember her name. She's considered a red.
The demon lady.
The demon lady. She's a tiefling, which is basically a devil. in the world of
she a
Dungeons and
devil?
Dragons. I don't remember her name because I just got her, but I'm like, I'm going to use her.
She's pretty cool.
Yeah, she seemed pretty cool. So yeah, I'm rocking with that gang right now. I met this other devil guy named Raphael who was getting all up in my grill, but I was like, whatever. Yeah, I mean, I haven't really done anything in the game that I think would stand out from somebody else's gameplay experience. I will say the biggest thing that stood out was there was this, I guess, shed, so to speak, where loud noises were coming from, and I had the option to just like walk away or bust through, and I decided to bust through, which I really shouldn't have done because two, I guess, orc-like creatures were in the middle of a very intimate moment, I will say. And I interrupted that, and they wanted to kill me, so I had to kill...
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I had to kill them.
You murdered them?
Yeah, I did.
How rude.
I did, and nobody had any issues with it. It was just a thing that happened. Got some good weapons, maybe, I think. Or maybe it's just stuff to sell. Yeah, that was like a thing that happened. I was like, oh, that was a consequence of my choices, and that was kind of cool. I was just doing it out of curiosity. I was like, I just want to see what happens. Like, I saved beforehand, but then I got into this fight, and I was like, I'm totally going to die in this fight. But then I didn't die in the fight, and I was like, okay, let's carry on. That's the thing that I just did. So, yeah, it was fun. And then I just got into like a big encounter with like some wolves and some snipers, and it was tough, but I really enjoyed it. I've mostly just been doing like combat stuff, and it's finally starting to all make sense. Like, I'm really starting to get all the different systems. It's very complex, but I'm starting to understand like what degree of choice I actually have in everything that's shaking out. So yeah, I'm gonna keep playing that. I'm enjoying it. There's way too many things coming out next month, so I don't know. I'll probably take a break from it, but I'm hoping I'm just gonna set an intention to keep this as a game that I just keep playing and eventually will finish. So yeah, aside from that, now that I'm done with Super Mario RPG, I'm going to play the new Prince of Persia game when it comes out on Thursday. On Thursday. That's pretty much all I have for my updates, but I think we should both quickly say something about what we thought of the Iron Claw.
Oh my gosh. It had me in tears for like one. I was crying the whole movie, which was a struggle because I was trying not to loudly sob. So I was just holding it all in, which gave me a headache. And then for like the whole car ride home, I cried.
Yeah. I couldn't get a read on you the whole time we were watching that movie. Like, you had your hood up.
I did.
Because I think you were just comfier that way.
Yeah, I always put my hood up.
You were wearing like a fuzzy hood.
Yeah.
So it looked comfortable. So
yeah.
I couldn't tell what was going on over there. Like, you seemed stoic from where I was sitting.
Oh my gosh,
no. But yeah, you were crying the whole time, apparently.
You didn't see my hand go up a million times to wipe the literal tears that were just rolling down my face.
I had an inkling of a feeling that maybe that was happening.
You know when you're crying and you do the like that kind of thing? Like, that's what I was trying not to do. And it was so hard. I was struggling so hard. I was like, I did not know anything about this family. I didn't know what to expect. I knew this was a wrestling movie. I'm not big into wrestling, but just by what the trailer looked like, I thought it would be really good. Like, going into it, I was like, I had high expectations for this movie.
Yeah, A24.
Exactly. It had some great actors in it, so I was really excited to see it. But yeah, it just had so much more to it than I thought was going to be a part of it. Like I said, I didn't know anything about this family, the real life family. And so, yeah, I was not expecting tragedy after freaking tragedy.
Yeah, let's not say more than.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to say what, but yeah, it was too much. It was fantastic, I thought, but it was a lot.
Yeah, I thought it was great. The story, I kept saying what I'm telling people about my opinion is that I thought the story was great because, I mean, you know, it's based on true events. And I thought the dialogue was great, but I thought that they could have fleshed it out a little bit more in the actual moment to moment like scenes that they used to portray the story. I personally just kind of wanted like a little bit more, like a little more meat on the bones. But I mean, overall, like the whole story is truly like just you learn it for the first time and you're just like, no way. So I mean, it really is a great film. Personally, I wish they had done like a 4 to 6 part limited series instead. I think that could have really fleshed out everything, really dived deep into, I guess, like the emotional investment into every family member that is in that family. So that was just my take. But anyway, still a great movie. Definitely recommend going to go see it. We saw it a little late, so
Yeah.
if the movie sounds interesting to you and you want to go see it, definitely go check it out sooner rather than later, because I don't think it's playing in our area anymore. I think we literally caught the last showing in our whole area. So if you're somewhere more populated, you could probably still go see it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, shall we get into the assignments?
Yeah.
Am I up first for your assignment?
I have no clue.
I believe I am.
Okay.
So I was assigned the Bling Ring. It's the Bling Ring?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was assigned the Bling Ring, which came out in 2013. Is that correct?
Sure.
All right, let's roll with it. So I was assigned the Bling Ring, which came out in 2013. This movie is also based on a true story in which some teenagers, I guess in like the late 2000s this happened.
Yeah.
Some teenagers.
Well, yeah.
Some teenagers that it focuses on this group of 4 teenagers and some other teenagers, but primarily this core group of 4 teenagers that would basically figure out when certain celebrities were out of town because they all live in LA, and they would just go to that celebrity's house. They would break in, and not really break in, but they would just kind of like walk in and party at that famous person's house. And maybe sometimes they would steal stuff. Maybe sometimes they would steal the car. And they just kept doing it without any worries about consequences or repercussions. And it all, like, they primarily decide to rob Paris Hilton's house quite a few times. Mm-hmm. I think there was maybe somebody else in there.
Yeah, there was like Paris Hilton, Rachel Bilson, Audrina Patridge, Lindsay Lohan. They robbed another person's house that from a show I don't remember. Like, I don't remember what the show was. And then apparently they tried to rob this wasn't in the movie, but they tried to rob Ashley Tisdale's at some point. But there was somebody who was like at the home, so they obviously didn't go in there.
Got it. Well, eventually they get caught. So, and then they all go to jail. The end.
Yeah, it's pretty simple.
Yeah, it is a pretty simple movie. What I did like about the movie was that it all takes place in LA. I grew up in the state of California, and it's just like the slang and the way of being, I guess, of these characters, to me, was very nostalgic of like when I was that age. Mm-hmm. We used that slang. In the like at one point they're like, okay, like, bye guys, and then they go late. And late was what we used to say for see you later. I hadn't heard that in a long time, but we used to say that all the time, like late. And oh god, there's one point where somebody says like, that's so ill, and that's maybe like before my time. That's maybe like 4 years behind me, or ahead of me, I should say. Never said ill, but yeah, it was just like little details like that I was like, oh yeah, like because I don't live in California anymore. But this reminds me of living in California in a lot of different ways. So like the two main characters that we focus on, I guess, if you can say that, it feels like it's mainly told from this one guy's perspective. I feel like most of the focus is put on the guy of the group, and the rest of the people in the group are these three girls. The guy becomes friends with this one girl at his high school, and I guess they go to the. I wrote down they go to the high school for kids who do crimes. Like he got kicked out.
It's an alternative high school.
It's an alternative high school. Yeah. But it's like a big alternative high school. And they let's see. It's just like the classrooms are filled with evil stereotypes, but we don't spend that much time at the high school because we just get straight to robbing.
I want to rob.
I really liked the main guy, or at least the actor that played him. He was very chill, but he knows, like, his character just knows a lot about like fashion and nerdy kind of stuff. Kind of like me, I guess. I don't know, in some ways. I mean, he knew a little bit. I'm not okay. Wait. Let me back.
I was like, I don't think he's anything like you.
Let me back that whole thing up. I don't think he's really anything like me, but I guess it was just like his chillness and just kind of like general knowing of random stuff that was conveyed with like how he was making social connections. I was like, okay, like I understand that. He would know like all this different stuff about fashion, like Dolce & Gabbana, or like, oh yeah, look at what they're wearing and yada, or like, oh yeah, you'd look like this person doing this thing. And I was like, okay, that's not me, obviously. So just take the whole like me seeing myself in this character out of it. But
he just has an interest. He's passionate about that interest.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess I'm not that special. There was just something about him. I was like, oh, okay, like, this just kind of, I feel like I'm seeing myself at times, but not in a different kind of way. Yeah. Different interests, so to speak. So I mean, I liked him, and I kept thinking like he reminds me of Stranger Things kid, the Dustin, the one with the curly hair. I just kept thinking that, like, oh, he reminds me of the Stranger Things kid.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't have many more notes. The acting in this movie is horrendous.
It's so bad.
It's so bad.
This is not a good movie.
No, this is a very bad movie.
It's terrible.
Like, this movie sucks.
Yeah.
But I kind of enjoyed that about it.
Yeah, that's what makes it great. It's a great bad movie.
Yeah. And so usually when I think of the Bling Ring, because I was familiar with this movie, I think of Emma Watson. Because Emma Watson is in this movie. Can you name me a movie that's not Harry Potter with a Bling Ring that Emma Watson is in, other than This is the End, where she plays herself? You couldn't do it.
No.
You couldn't do it.
No.
This is the End came out in 2013.
Wasn't she Belle in Beauty and the Beast?
You're right. And you know what? I never saw that movie, but the whole time the trailers were coming out, I kept making fun of her acting. Coming to the light. Like one of my notes here just says like, this is the last time you're gonna see Emma Watson. But yeah, I guess Beauty and the Beast was a thing that happened. But I really I haven't seen Emma Watson in so long. It's like she grew up with us and now she's gone.
Yeah.
Same with Rupert Grint.
Oh my gosh, I love him.
Yeah, well, name me a non-Harry Potter movie that he's been in.
He doesn't need to be in anything. He just needs to be himself. He's the icon just on his own.
Oh, okay. All right. I guess. So,
wasn't he in an Ed Sheeran music video? I'm pretty sure.
That wouldn't surprise me. I think a good use of an actor for an Ed Sheeran music video.
Yeah.
So Emma Watson is in this movie. So is Thaisa Farmiga. And they're sisters. They're not quite sisters, but they have the same guardian, so to speak. So Emma Watson they live at Emma Watson's house, but Thaisa Farmiga, I've kind of forgot what her whole backstory was, but basically they took her in, and so they're like quote unquote sisters, and yeah, I don't know, like they're friends with the main guy and the girl, and they're just like, yeah, let's go rob. Like literally, Emma Watson literally has a line where she looks to her sister and she says, "I want to rob."
That like, took me out. I was like, what in the world?
It's like, this thing that we were doing right now is lame. I want to go rob.
I want to rob.
And it's like, you don't say that. You know? People who go around, I don't know, robbing places, they don't say, I want to rob. You know? I could really go for some robbing right now.
I can't hang out with you right now. I'm about to go rob.
Right.
It's so funny.
It's
ridiculous.
It's very ridiculous. Yeah. So, you know, that's a thing. It's like if you said, not like, instead of saying like, I want to go smoke or something, like, you know how people say like, oh, you get stoned or whatever. It's like saying, I want to go stone.
I mean, in all fairness, this is a whole movie about teenagers doing dumb things.
Yeah.
And so that's a very dumb teenager thing to say. Like, it wouldn't be so far-fetched if the Alexis Nears, who Emma Watson plays, had actually said this. I mean, I don't think she did, but like, you know, if I heard a teen say that, I'd be like, oh, that would be a teen thing to say.
Yeah, no, okay. It's a very teen thing to say. It's just, I guess it's just it's a matter of choice for what kind of movie you're making. So this movie's directed by Sofia Coppola, and I think this was kind of like one of the first things that she really like, that was on my radar, at least, directed.
Really? Not Virgin Suicides?
No, I haven't seen that.
Wait, what? I need to add that to my list.
Go add it to your list.
I'm sad now that the Bling Ring was your first experience of hers, because I love Virgin Suicides.
No, I don't think it was my first experience of hers. I just like, when I think of her earliest film, this is what I think of.
Really?
Yeah.
I think of Virgin Suicides first, and then what's that, like Marie Antoinette one or something like that? Wait, Kirsten Dunst? I mean, all of them have Kirsten Dunst in them. Literally, this one does too. She makes a cameo.
Really? Oh, she does.
Yeah, because she's in every Sofia Coppola movie.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, no.
I think it was Marie Antoinette. I have not seen that movie, but...
Okay, but was that movie... I guess what I'm trying to say is that, like, this movie has a very low budget, and it's not that good, but there is a certain, like, choice about it to kind of make it into that specific form of not good. Like, it's like intentional in the choices of like Emma Watson saying, I want to rob.
Yeah.
Making that choice to have that character say this ridiculous line. It kind of like, I guess, grounds it to what people would actually say without glamorizing their behavior. It doesn't glamorize their behavior at all. It's just very like, if like, it feels like, I guess what it felt like I was watching people actually do this, which was good in its own way, but that doesn't necessarily make it into a cinematic experience. Like, you go to the cinema for things to be portrayed in a very cinematic way, and I think this could be used if I was like getting into a debate with somebody about like what we go to movies for, like, should we depict things as being very realistic, or should we depict things as being like much more played up and escapist, for the sake of just making it into, you know, this big dramatized thing? I would use this as an argument point for saying like, well, they did it in this very kind of grounded way and it sucks. So
dang.
Yeah, sorry to say. But yeah. I don't know. I don't know if that's a symptom of how they filmed it, or just a symptom of the story that they were actually telling being kind of a dumb one. So it's not, I mean, it's not a dumb story, but it's like a dumb teenagers doing dumb things.
Yeah.
Play that up in a realistic way to kind of come off like, wow, what idiots.
It's ludicrous. It's just like ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think, yeah, I feel like stripping it down and making it this very simple depiction of the events. Yeah, it's just like, it further emphasizes like, wow, they really just went and robbed a bunch of people. These like little 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, whatever, just like rob people. Like, that's insane.
Like, they
and, like,
just
that
walked
in
in
and
the
of
front
itself,
door.
that in and of itself is all you need to be like, what? Like, how? Why?
I will say at the beginning of the movie, like the first shot of the movie, there's like, it's of a house where you see the driveway, and then you see like there's a little hill next to it, and there's a gate in front of the driveway, and then the gate continues on the little hill next to it with a fence, and they just step up onto the little hill and step over the fence, and then they walk in, rob some stuff, and they walk back out. And it's like, how nobody would have a fence that low, or maybe they do, but it's just like, you could see how these kids would just get wrapped up in robbing a place if that's the level of security an actual celebrity had. I just remember watching it being like, there's no way that little gate was in front of this big house. Like, no way.
I mean, I feel like it isn't that hard to get to celebrities' homes. Like, you think of like, if you go to California, you can do like tours of people's homes, and they just drive you through neighborhoods, and they go, that's Miley Cyrus's house, that's this person's house, that's this person's house. And it's just like, you could essentially just go up to their house. Like, I mean, obviously they might have a gate or whatever. Some people's homes are a little bit more, I feel like, private than other people's. But some of them, I'm like, you really could just go up there. I mean, I remember going back to the Kardashians. I remember that episode way back in the day where like some crazy person delivered some like weird pizza to Kylie with like weird stuff on it that freaked her out. And she was like, oh my gosh, I need like to get security. And I don't know. I just feel like, especially back in the early 2000s, I don't think it would be really that hard to do that.
I think it's the fact that these kids were the ones that were caught for doing it.
Yeah.
That it's like, you know, it took them doing it for the security to now be, I guess, like amped up.
Yeah.
But before it was, you know, they thought to do that and they got away with it, and that blows my mind.
Yeah. It's crazy. Wow.
I don't really have any other notes on this, so do you want to go into like some facts on the movie?
Yeah, sounds good. So the film is based on a Vanity Fair 2010 article called "The Suspects Wore Louboutins," written by Nancy Jo Sales. And if you had watched the reality TV show Pretty Wild, which was a reality TV show about Alexis Nears and her sister, and just like their family, and basically the first episode of that reality TV show was she gets arrested, and then the rest of the season's kind of like leading up to her trial. The show is hilarious. And one of the most iconic scenes from the show, and this is like what introduced me to the Bling Ring and like what had happened way back when I was in high school, Tumblr days. That was my first exposure.
Oh man.
I know. We're going way back. Tumblr days.
Opened up some old memories.
I know. Tumblr days. I found this story because of the iconic clip of Alexis calling Nancy Jo and be like, Nancy Jo, this is Alexis Nears calling. And she has to keep like re-recording the voicemail because her mom keeps talking over her.
Oh, yeah, we did watch that clip, didn't we?
And it's hilarious. It's so funny.
Okay, wait, so Nancy Jo was from Vanity Fair. She wrote the article.
She wrote an article, yeah.
And that was after Alexis Nears and her friends had gotten arrested. She wrote that article after interviewing Alexis Nears and her family.
She didn't just interview Alexis Nears. So the main guy character from this movie, she also interviewed. And I kind of like, because I had never read through the article. So before we started recording, I kind of like read through the article. it seems like the interview is mostly about him. It's mostly his perspective.
Oh, okay.
And then they like also mention Alexis in it, but it's Alexis's story contradicts heavily with his story of what happened. And I guess they had interviewed Alexis first and, shared what she said with him. And he's like, that is not true. So the main guy in the story, he's the one who really kind of like tattled on everybody. So like once they get caught or whatever, because they have the security footage, he's like, all right, here's everything that we did, and just like lays it out. Even confesses things that they weren't even like looking into. So
he plays it very honest in the movie when they're asking him questions. He's just like you can kind of tell he's a good kid. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, he just gave it all up.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, rule number 1, you don't snitch. You do not say a word. But he's a teen, so he was like, here's what we did. Sorry that we did it. So the film pretty like 1-to-1 aligns with kind of what was written in that article.
Oh, okay.
And so one thing that I think is like kind of the downfall to the film is that we don't really get to know who these kids are during this moment, like during that time. Because I think there was a lot of complexities to who they were, but like we really just, all we focus on is they robbed these houses.
Yeah, it's like they just kind of, they crop up, they show up, they say, hey, good to meet you. Mm-hmm. Let's go, I want to rob. And then they go robbing, and like that's it.
Yeah, exactly. So I wish it would have delved into them a little bit more, even if it didn't do every character. Maybe your main 2 people. I say character, they're real people, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, the whole time whenever they go robbing, sorry, whenever they're out robbing,
when they go robbing,
getting their rob on, he's always the one that's like, we need to get out of here. Like he's always the
he's
paranoid
very stressed
one. So
about it. Yeah,
it's kind of like they're playing him up as like the
one with the morality.
Yeah, he has a guilty conscience.
Yeah. With morals, I mean.
The one with he has morality. He's got good morals.
Yes, that's what I meant.
He's just looking for friends.
Yeah, to fit in. So another fun fact. So the website that they would search, this is like a fact about, this was shown in the movie, but also this was like part of the real story too. The website that they would search for celebrities' addresses was called Celebrity Address Aerial, which I, went to that address, and it is still an existing website. I'm not sure if it's the same as it was back then. And also I felt very creepy. And so I didn't play around on it to see anybody's address, because that just felt like such an invasion of privacy.
Yeah.
So I don't really know how it works. On the front page, it just like says like, this is what this website is. You can find celebrities' homes. Well, there was a whole long essay on the front, and I didn't take the time to read it. I just wanted to see if it still existed. So it does. I don't recommend going on there to find people's houses. Yeah, don't do that. Another fun fact kind of about the story overall, which I think was mentioned in the film, is that the group had stolen about $3 million total in luxury items. So that includes jewelry, clothes, etc. Emma Watson said that she researched her role by watching a ton of reality TV, including The Hills, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and Pretty Wild, which, like I said, was the 1-season reality show of Alexis Neers, who is a part of the Bling Ring. And so Emma Watson mentioned that she like studied their body language, how they acted around other people. And then I don't know how true this is.
She's overdoing it.
I know. I don't know.
In the movie, she's overdoing it.
Oh, she ruins the movie. I'm so
first
sorry.
off, she's got an American accent, which is like
rough.
You grow up your whole life watching her in these British films, and now suddenly she's got an American accent, and she's doing a terrible job.
Yeah, it's like you feel her struggling to say things without the accent, without her British accent.
Right, like she doesn't know how to emphasize different syllables based on like how a human American person talks, I guess.
Yeah. It's quite wild.
Yeah, she needed to work on that accent.
Yeah, but fun to watch.
Still fun.
Yeah. My last fact is that there is a Netflix documentary called The Real Bling Ring, Hollywood Heist, and it has members of the Bling Ring, like, currently. I think that it came out in 2022.
Okay.
And so they interviewed them, like, now, and talk about, what happened and everything like that. So I'd be interested to watch it, to kind of see where they're at now. I know the only person I really know about is Alexis, and, like, she is now sober. She was really struggling with, like, substance abuse during that time, which is, like, another thing that I'm like, that could have been in the movie.
Oh, yeah. I totally... Yeah, it's all coming back to me. We watched this, like, a week ago, so...
Yeah.
Or... No, it was 4 days ago. Whatever.
Yeah,
I just kind of forgot a lot of this movie. Yeah, they get into all kinds of mess.
Yeah. So, yeah. I don't know if that documentary is any good, but maybe check it out if you're interested.
Might check it out.
Yep. And that is all that I have.
Okay.
Shall we move on?
Yeah, let's move on. Overall, a solid content swap assignment.
I'm glad you enjoyed that movie.
Yeah, I had a ton of fun watching it.
Yeah.
All right, let's do my movie.
Yes. So I was assigned Memories of Murder, which came out in 2003.
Yep.
And this is directed by the same guy who did Parasite. Is that what you said?
Bong Joon-Ho.
Yes.
This is a Korean film.
Yes. So essentially, this story is about two police officers in South Korea during in 1986. And they are trying to catch a serial killer who has been murdering a bunch of women and also doing some other bad things that I won't get into detail about. And so each of these men have kind of their own way of solving the case. Like, one guy, he's like, I just look into the eyes of people and then I know if they did it, which, like, he is wrong every time. He sucks. The other guy is a little bit more logical and, like, follows some actual clues before jumping to conclusions about people. But because...
And then there's a third guy that just kicks people.
Yeah, he just beats people up. He's awful. But it's mostly about these two guys. The third guy's kind of like the sidekick.
Yeah.
But because these two guys are, like, both trying to solve this case, but they both have their own unique methods of doing so, they butt heads a lot and end up getting into fights, which then just further prevents them from actually finding the guy who is committing these crimes. So by the end of the movie, they never actually figure out who did it. They had a suspect that they, like, really thought it was, but when DNA results came back, it was like, he's not it. And that was kind of like their last lead. And so, yeah, it's just like the movie has such an unsatisfying ending because it's like, well, the guy's still out there and that's what you're left with. So in terms of my thoughts about this movie, I thought this movie was good. I think I was expecting something more bone chilling.
Ooh, yeah.
Than, like, kind of like Parasite was very bone chilling to me. Like, I was like, I had nightmares after we watched it. This movie was not so much that. This movie was just, like, unsatisfying. It's like, I wish they caught the guy. Like, I don't know.
Well, you can't change real life.
Wait, is this based on a true story?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh
my gosh.
Yeah, this is based on a real life event in the 1980s where there was a string of serial murders that mostly involved women, and it was like the first, like, serial killer in Korea.
Wow.
Yeah.
I might have said that at the beginning of the movie. I just don't remember.
No, it didn't. It didn't.
Oh,
it
gotcha.
Didn't. But this is all based on true events.
Wow, that's crazy.
So that's why,
Mm-hmm.
it has that unsatisfying ending.
Yeah.
Of, they don't find the guy.
Yeah.
The last scene of the movie. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so the last scene of the movie, it basically time jumps to 2005.
2003.
Sorry, 2003.
Present day.
Yes. And one of the main police officer guys, he now has a new job. He's no longer a police officer, but he stops at this location where kind of like the first woman was found. And he goes, and she was found in like this, like, what do you call
it? A
it?
storm drain?
Yeah, like a storm drain type of thing. And so for what reason, I don't know, but he decides to just look in it, and he's looking in it. He's just like remembering, that day. And this little girl comes up and is like, "What are you doing? Why are you looking in that hole?" And he's like, "Oh, no reason." And she's like, "Well, that's weird because somebody else was also looking in the hole and I asked them the same question." And the guy's like, "Well, what did that person say?" And she's like, "That person told me that they were just looking in it because they did something there a while ago." And so the police officer guy, who's no longer a police officer, is like, "Oh snap, it was the killer. Like, she saw the killer." So he's like, "What does he look like?" And she's like, "Ordinary, like a regular man. I don't know." And so
plain.
Yeah. And so then he's like, this guy's still out here. Who knows what he'll do? And then it ends.
Yeah.
He doesn't say that. He just looks into the camera.
Yes.
Sad.
He looks into the camera. Exactly. So that last scene of the movie was birthed from Bong Joon-Ho's idea that the killer would be watching the movie. So when Detective Park, that's the character's name, looks directly at the camera, he's like looking at the killer in the audience. It's like a way of saying like the guy looked plain, he looked ordinary, as a way of saying
it could be any of us.
It could be any of us. Exactly. And he looks into the camera and it's like, now the killer maybe is watching the movie and be like, "Oh, he's looking at me." But for the rest of us, it's like, "Oh man, yeah, somebody around me could be the killer and I wouldn't even know."
Oh my gosh, I would hate to think that.
Well, that's the point of the ending. That's how they turn the unsatisfaction of not having found the killer into something a little more satisfying of an ending. When it's based on true events and they never actually found the guy.
Yeah. Got you. Yeah, I mean, I think that's all my thoughts. Like, I found all the characters to be, well, now that I know they're real people, so I apologize for what I'm about to say. But before I knew they were real people, I found them all to be pretty unlikable.
Well, they're not exactly all real people. I'll get into it in a second. But yes, I don't think they're supposed to be likable.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, like, it's like, on the one hand, it's like I have a hard time rooting for them because like they kind of suck, but at the same time I like really want to like find obviously like bring justice to these women, so you are rooting for them just naturally because of that. You're like, find the person. But just like all the shenanigans along the way, I'm like, ugh, come on now, get it together. Get it to freaking
they're
together.
Like idiots, and they're falsely accusing people,
they're like harming people, like torturing people
into giving fake confessions.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, don't do that.
That's not how you it's not how you solve a murder. Yeah. So it's a lot visually, so it can be a little bit tough to stomach. You do see depictions of the women, which is hard. But I don't know. I thought, since you kind of primed me by saying like, this is a director from Parasite, I was like, ooh, I'm in for something that's going to really do something. It's a movie he made 16 years before Parasite. It was like his second feature film ever.
Yeah. That's fair.
That being said, this movie is listed on the top 250 on IMDb. Where do you think it placed? Or is currently placed as of the time of recording? Where do you think it is?
82.
193.
Wow.
Yeah. 82.
I don't know.
That's a little...
I know.
That's a high ranking.
Well, I was going to put it at 1 something, but then I was like, maybe that seems harsh. Maybe, I feel like anytime you ask me that, it's always way higher than I think.
No, yeah, this one was 193.
I'm always like, 90, and you're like, it's 10.
True. So it is based on real murders that happened in Korea in the 80s. There was a play called Come See Me that dramatized the events of the murders, and Bong Joon-Ho drew a lot of inspiration from that. He also apparently based the look of that time on a graphic novel called From Hell that was written by Alan Moore, who is the famous author of things like Batman the Killing Joke, Watchmen, V for Vendetta. But From Hell was a book that followed Jack the Ripper, so I guess he kind of like took the, I guess, like feel of the environments from that and used it to kind of inspire the feel of the environments of, you know, this time where all these murders are happening in this like small town in Korea. What was I gonna say? Oh gosh, I kind of forgot what I was gonna say. Yeah, murders happened. Oh no, okay, I remember what I was gonna say. Yeah, so it's not exactly based on like the characters themselves. It doesn't seem like the characters themselves are like based on any specific people. It's kind of like they're an amalgamation of a group of people.
Yeah.
So, for example, in 2019, 8 of the original investigators were arrested and charged with several crimes for falsely accusing a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
And 4 suspects that they falsely accused and tortured during this investigation supposedly, trigger warning, if we didn't do that already, supposedly 4 of the suspects committed suicide.
Oh my gosh.
Like later on, but it's, you know, it was supposedly cited as like, you know, due to all these false accusations and, you know, torture by the police during the investigation. I mean, one guy that they're chasing down in the movie like literally gets killed while they're chasing him down. Like it's like an accident, but it's still like,
it's so sad.
Yeah, it was, you know, it's super sad.
I mean, can you imagine getting like, you get falsely accused for something, even if they determine like, oh, you're not the person. Like, I'm sure that still skews people's perception of you. Like, it's like now you've been a part of this thing, and like people, how can people not see you for this incident? You know, like that's got to be so rough.
Yeah,
and that's so unfair.
Yeah, and that's why. That's why, you know, 30 plus years later, 8 of the original investigators were arrested and charged with several crimes.
Yeah.
All right. What are some other facts I got here? Bong Joon-Ho spent he spent a year writing this movie, but the first 6 months he literally just spent researching. He didn't even write a single line of dialogue. He just researched for 6 months, and then he spent 6 months writing it. So another fact that I have is that in real life, the first, at least based on this note that I found, at least the first and last victims at least were much like older than they're depicted in the movie. Like in the movie, they're all depicted as like young women. In real life, the first and last victims were like 71 and 69.
So was one of them a child like it was in the movie?
I didn't look into that. But the real murderer was finally caught in 2019.
The real murderer?
The real murderer, like in real life.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. The actual murderer that this, like, you know, from the murders in the 80s in Korea that this movie is based on. Was caught in 2019, found through DNA evidence. He ended up confessing to the 10 murders. There was 10 murders in total. I think in the movie there's only maybe 6 or 7 depicted, but there was 10 in total that they knew about. He also confessed to 4 additional murders. Yeah. But he couldn't be convicted due to a statute of limitations of 15 years.
I was just going to say.
Yep.
Can they even charge him?
But he is already serving a life sentence for murdering his sister-in-law in 1994.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This man did not stop.
Yeah. And apparently he did watch the movie, and he said he had no feeling or emotion towards it.
that makes a lot of sense. Like, I mean, at that point, after you've murdered a million people, you wouldn't feel anything about anything. You'd just be completely desensitized.
I gotta say though, that guy that they like really thought did it, like in the movie, that last guy that they really thought did it, but they were like, we're not sure, like, so we just gotta let him go.
Yeah.
Like when I was watching the movie, both times, I first watched this movie like 10 years ago, and I didn't really remember it other than like, yeah, it was a really good movie. But even watching it, I think it was last night we were watching it, I was like, that guy did it. I think he did it. At least the way that he's depicted in the movie, I'm like, that guy definitely did it. But
I thought it was that police officer dude, the sidekick.
You thought it was no.
Even in my notes, I said, before you just told me it was a true story, in my notes I said, I still think he did it. Because there's this scene where the dude, like, first of all, the dude goes on a rampage at a restaurant and is like beating up everybody, including women. And one of the people who they thought initially was a suspect, like, sees this happening, comes in and like hits him in the leg, and like a nail gets stuck in his leg. So he has to go to the hospital because, you know, tetanus. He has to go to the hospital, and he ends up like going through surgery to get the lower half of his leg amputated. But there's a moment where the main guy who kind of worked more closely with him, he looks at him in like a suspicious way. Like it's like his face is the way he looks at him and they look at each other is like this moment of suspicion, which maybe I was misinterpreting it. But
maybe that was intentional because, you know, when they made the movie, they didn't know who did it.
Yeah.
So, you know, at that point, it could have been anybody.
Yeah.
If there was if 8 investigators were arrested for, you know, falsely accusing people and torturing people, like they were trying really hard to pin this on somebody.
Exactly. That's why when the movie was playing, I was like, it makes perfect sense for it to be one of the officers, because they're always going to be one step ahead of the officers. They know what they're doing. They can go do the things, come back to work and be like, it was this guy, you know, like it just made sense to me. So I really thought it was that man, but I guess not.
Well, dang. All right, some final wrap up facts that I have here. The main guy, the main detective, he has this woman. He has this female relationship. At first, I was like, "That's not his wife." Then I was like, "Oh no, it's definitely his wife." Turns out, not his wife.
I didn't think it was his wife. I just thought it was a partner.
No, she's.
Was it his sister?
No, she's more of a a frequenter of the red light district.
Like a sex worker?
Yeah. Yes, she's a sex worker. That's a good way of putting it.
Oh my gosh. Goodness.
But I guess they just had like a relationship, so to speak.
Yeah. To each his own.
That was literally a piece of trivia that I read. It was like, many people think that she is his wife. In fact, she is not. She is a sex worker.
Yeah.
So.
But then at the end, don't they like have kids?
Yeah, it's depicted that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, he's not based on a specific person.
Yeah.
So, you know, all of that is fiction in the first place.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the actual like context of the story of the movie, yeah, she's not his actual wife.
There's a scene where it's the woman we're talking about. She's like walking down a path in a dark forest, and the killer is kind of lurking in the bushes, like waiting to grab her. But then it's this like young middle school girl who passes her, and she's going in the opposite direction. And so the killer is like, ooh, which one do I pick? And like, what a hard scene to watch, because you're like, no, a child, but I also don't want this other woman to be taken, but I really don't want the child to be taken. And like eventually the serial killer chooses the younger middle schooler, which is like so freaking sad.
What a good scene that was.
Yeah. It's just like, you
don't
know what.
Just harrowing. Like, awful. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, I honestly, any of those scenes where it was like the killer was lurking,
I don't like a freaking cat.
Those were very well done. Very creepy. Very creepy.
Yeah.
All right, last couple of notes here. The actor that played Detective Seo, which is the second detective, I guess he's
the more logical one.
The more logical one. He's from Seoul. He's from the city. He's from the city. He's trying to come at this from doing it by the book, I guess.
Yeah.
Whereas the main guy is kind of
chaotic.
Just chaotic. He's literally going
he's like,
to a
I go based
teller.
on feeling.
Yeah, he's going based on feeling. He literally goes to a fortune teller, he buys some, I don't know,
ink thing.
Like ink thing where he puts dirt on it, and it's like,
he's like,
this
when
is
we
gonna
spill
show
this,
me.
yeah, when we spill this ink, it's gonna show me the face of the murderer. I'm like,
Right.
sir, you
Right.
are getting paid to do this
Right.
shenanigans.
Right.
Please do your job correctly.
Right. So the actor that played the more logical one, supposedly he ate and slept less to make his character seem distressed over the course of the case.
Goodness.
Yeah. That's dedication. My last and final fact here is that the whole reason I even watched this movie 9 or 10 years ago was because it was on a list of Quentin Tarantino's favorite movies.
That's not shocking.
He did a list of best top 25 movies to come out in the past 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
And this movie made the list, and I was like, "What's that?" I'm gonna go check it out.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool.
It's not it's not like a violent movie. You think of Tarantino and you're like, violence. But no, it's not particularly violent movie. It's just very eerie and upsetting and in multiple ways, both with murder and just the incompetency of the authorities. But yeah. I kind of felt the same way that you felt watching it for the first time. In that when I watched it, I was kind of underwhelmed. I wish I knew who the killer was. But watching it last night, I was like, this is a very good movie. I always enjoy when you watch something for the first time and you're like, okay, I didn't quite understand it, but then you watch it, I don't know, the second or the third time and you're like, yep, I get it now.
Yeah.
Masterpiece.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad it didn't have this emotionally scarring effect to where you weren't able to go to sleep last night.
Yeah, I was dreading it. I was dreading it because I knew how I was after Parasite, and I was like, I don't want to relive that.
There's just a specific shot of Parasite.
I cannot. Let's not even talk about it.
My bad.
Because I will not sleep. I won't. I have to actively make sure I don't think about that scene.
Yeah.
Because it messed me up, and I just don't want to experience it. But yeah, I was like, I'm coming off of this emotional experience of Iron Claw. I cannot handle any more emotions this week.
Yeah.
I'm tapped out. But it was okay. I made it through the movie. I was fine. I slept great last night. So it's all good.
Nice. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Well, anything else?
Nope. That's all I've got.
All right. Let's get into next week's assignments.
Sounds good. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
I'll go first. So, because we watched the Bling Ring, I wrote this down while we were watching the Bling Ring, and it's I think it's been on my list for a while. It just the Bling Ring made me think of this, and I thought, hey, you know what? Let's keep this going. I'm into it. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a show from the early 2000s called The O.C.
Ooh. Wait, that's not a reality show, is it? Is it a reality show?
No, it's not. It's not a reality show.
I know the show. I just don't remember the show.
I think of it I don't know, Gilmore Girls in Orange County, but with more drama.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, it's it's an artifact of the early 2000s.
Yeah,
and I've seen the first 2 seasons, and I can name so many events of the first season of this show.
Yeah,
that I didn't even watch this show. Like my brother watched this show, but I just kind of like caught episodes randomly.
Yeah.
Because I was like 9 or 10 years old when this show was airing.
Yeah.
But I can name multiple like whoa events from that first season of this show. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited to watch it.
Nice. Well, keeping up with an early 2000s pick, I'm going to give you an early 2000s movie that I feel like will be a great pairing with this. However, I will preface we might need to make it a content swap after dark just based on the plot of this movie.
All right, that works. If we get deep enough into the OC, then we can, have a little bit more fun with that.
Yeah. So I want to give you the movie Girl Next Door.
Oh, okay. I've never seen that.
Yes, I saw this probably when I was in high school. It was like, wow, what a movie.
Is that like a
The Girl Next Door.
Not a rom-com. Is that like a teen comedy?
I mean, it's kind of a like teen rom-com.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar
Yeah.
with this. I am familiar with this. With this movie poster.
Yeah.
I have not seen this. Okay. All right. Sounds good.
I enjoyed it the first time I watched it, so we'll see if I enjoy it again because I've only seen it the one time.
Okay, so this will be fun. Next week we will be doing the OC and
The Girl Next Door.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one. All right. Well, we'll see you then. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Sorry if we sounded a little tired or scattered or whatever. It's just very late. So
I know it's almost 10 o'clock.
Yeah. We'll see you next time. We'll try to record on Sunday during the day, maybe next time. But we'll catch you then.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.